Let's say you're working in an area that has a lot of pages and folders. Rather than scrolling through a long list before you find the one you need, you can use the filter feature here in the upper right. Just type the first few letters of the name or file or folder you need and it'll come right to the top. So, for example, I'm here in the professional development section. By the way, our department used to be called staff development, so that's why you see staff dev in the breadcrumb trail. Now let's say I know I need to work on our workshop page. I just click inside this filter field and start typing workshop. And there it is, right at the top. This saved me from having to scroll through a whole lot of files and folders. While the filter tool is powerful, it's not like a Google search. It can only see the list of files and folders in the current level you're on. So for example, if I go back to the top and then search for that workshop page, it's not going to find it for me. It'd be nice in theory if it could dig through the various levels of folders in the entire website, but then could you imagine trying to search for a page called index? You'd get a couple hundred results back. So remember, if you search for a page or a folder and nothing shows up, that doesn't mean the file doesn't exist or that it got erased. It just means that you need to dig your way down or up to the level where the file is stored. Next to the filter field, we have buttons for uploading and creating new pages and folders, but those topics get their own videos. Moving down toward the middle of the page, I'd like to talk about file extensions. This icon looks kind of like the Adobe PDF symbol, but it actually says PCF. That's the file extension. If you've done any web design, you're probably used to pages ending in .html or .htm. But for websites built in OU Campus, they have different file extensions. Pages on the staging server end in .pcf like you see here, and once a page has gone live, it'll end in .asp for El Camino and .aspx for Compton. Sometimes, however, there won't be a .asp or .aspx at the end of a live page, like we see here on the El Camino homepage. But if we go to the faculty and staff section, for example, we can see the .asp. And on the Compton site, their faculty and staff section ends in .aspx. Basically, the file extension tells you which server that file lives on. If I'm in the production server, I can click on the .asp version of a file and I can preview that page, but I can't edit it. If I wanted to edit it, I'd have to go back to the staging server where I click on the .pcf version of that file. Why do you need to know this? First, it can be a good clue that you're in the wrong server. At some point, you're likely going to head over to the production server. Maybe you want to double check which documents you've already uploaded, and you might forget to switch back to the staging server. If you try to edit your page from here, there aren't going to be any green edit buttons, and you might think OU Campus is broken or that something's wrong with your account. So if you remember that this can happen, it'll save you from sending a frantic email to the webmaster. The second reason is that it's helpful to know about the whole PCF, ASP, ASPX thing when you're linking to a page that isn't live yet, but that's a more advanced topic. All right, let's talk about symbols. If you see a yellow light bulb, that means the file is checked out to you and no one else can access it. To check it back in, just click the light bulb and it'll turn off. Notice how the shading turned from tan to white as I checked the file back in. This red lock icon and the red shading means the file is checked out and you can't access it. Luckily, you can hover over the lock icon and you can see who it's checked out to, so you can email them and ask them to please check it back in. If that person happens to be out on vacation, you can always email the webmaster at webdeveloper@elcamino.edu and he can check it back in for you. There are some more symbols that pop up on the right as you move your mouse along the list of files, but they'll make more sense after we've done some editing, so I'll talk about those later.